Hi there, I'm Bevan Thompson and welcome to the Wellbeing Whizz Omnicast. What is an Omnicast? Well, an Omnicast is a video podcast. It's also an audio podcast. It's also a blog on my website. It's many, many things. It's more than just a podcast, basically. And I'm the Wellbeing Whizz. I'm an anxiety coach who helps people manage their anxiety and start to live a better life. Now, what qualifies me for this, you're asking? Well, I used to suffer very badly from anxiety myself around maybe 10 years ago. I had all the symptoms you could think of, the sort of sweaty palms, the dizzy head, the random thoughts, racing thoughts. It turned to depression. It was essentially a living nightmare. And I spent a long time with doctors going through things like hypnotherapy. I tried tablets. I tried a lot of the different solutions. And I found the only thing that helped me was starting to go back to the start, work out how my thoughts worked, work out how they were creating my emotions, how I was creating this anxiety. And what I did, I created a framework and kind of cured myself. That led on to me thinking, hang on a minute, other people should benefit from this, and the Wellbeing Whizz was born. I set up as a coach, helping people manage their anxiety and helping them live a better life, as I say. The Omnicast every week is about sharing tips about this, interviewing other people about their anxiety, me talking about ways to understand anxiety and how to cure it, and essentially just a place where you can learn more about anxiety itself and sort of sharing a lot of people's experience with it. Welcome to the Wellbeing Whizz Omnicast, episode number 28, and we are deep into series 2, well, 2 episodes in, and we're talking to people about their anxiety and about their experiences with it. Today, I've got a great guest called Klivington, who is a mum and also planning her wedding in 10 days. Hi, Kat, how are you?
Hello. Oh, very busy. Very
busy,
very
indeed,
busy.
yes. A COVID wedding. We've been chatting about it before we came on air, and it's a scary thing indeed, but hopefully you'll have lots of fun.
Yeah, do you know what? It is what it is. And COVID's been around for a long time. You've got to try and make it your friend, haven't you, in some way, which is a really bizarre thing to say. But in some way, you've just got to embrace it. You've got to think about the positives it's brought. And, you know, as I say, make it your friend.
Well, that's weird because I always try and convince people that anxiety is their friend. So we might get into that in a minute, actually. So,
well, there you go.
Righto. So tell us a bit about what you do, your jobs, your hobbies, what you do for a living, a bit about what Kat is all about.
I'd love to say that I have hobbies, but my hobby is my 2-year-old. So he keeps me very, very busy. I work 2.5 days a week, and genuinely work now has become the thing that I do in between spending time with my little boy. So I'm definitely not worried by that. He's amazing. He is that thing that I was looking for. I don't know if you've ever experienced that feeling, but you're like, I feel like I'm missing something. What is it? So in a very gushy fashion, he came along and I was like, here it is. Here it is. This is it. This is exactly the thing that I was missing. So he keeps me very happy. He's very challenging. He's very entertaining.
Wow, what a start. That's lovely. I've got a little tear in my eye. That's a lovely start. How nice. I'm trying to think. I didn't want to sort of sell myself out and say what was the thing I was missing, because if I don't mention my wife or my kids or even my cockapoo, I'll be in trouble. So anywho, so talking about
all of them.
You know, we talk about anxiety on here. Is it something that you suffer from, and what does anxiety mean to you? What does the word anxiety mean to you?
I most definitely do. And anxiety, it's maybe different to everybody, and everybody probably has a different version. But for me, it's like an uncomfortable feeling, something that's with you and you're aware of it. And it's like a tight-chested, uncomfortable, a bit of something terrible's happened, but I'm not really sure what that terrible thing is. That would be my little description of it.
Yeah. I always had that sort of, how would I describe that? Impending feeling of doom.
That's it. That's
not
exactly
knowing
it.
what that doom was.
What's happened? Have I missed something? Is there something on the news? Is something happening tomorrow? Is something going to happen in a minute? Is this like a premonition or an instinct? And I'm a really instinctive person, in a bit of a, oh, how did I know that? That's really weird. I was going to see that person and then I just bumped into them, and that sort of thing. So it's really hard to convince yourself that anxious feeling is not one of your instinctive thoughts or a real thought. And
that's
actually, from listening,
the thing I always return to is like, you're not your thoughts, and actually my thoughts were all those kind of forward projecting, what if this happens, what if that happens. But it starts with what if, chuck it out is my rule. But yeah, it's that you don't know whether those intrusive thoughts are your instincts, or whether you're meant to be scared of what you're being scared of, or even what it is that you're feeling slightly scared about. Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally. Thoughts are not facts, are they? Thoughts are not facts. And I tell myself this all the time. But then equally, we were created to, live in a cave and make sure that we didn't get attacked, weren't we? So parts of these are useful and parts of them are really not useful.
Well, that's it. I mean, we like. I always, again, Kiki, you're preaching from my Bible right now. It's good. We're living in this world now where the scary things are mortgages, the rent. Whether you've got X, Y, and Z. How you compare to the person that's on Love Island, all that kind of thing. But our body is reacting as if we're living in a cave and scared of a saber-toothed tiger, and reacting in that way. So yeah, you're right. We're not designed to live in this world we're in at the moment. Really, physically, we're not, and that's how we're reacting. We're scared all the time of things we can't really put our finger on. It's probably the best description.
Absolutely. I think I was made to live on a desert island, apart from when you mentioned looking like from Love Island, because that's not a program I'd be going on.
I'll tell you what, that's my biggest embarrassment. I'm obsessed with reality television. I'm a real...
It's good. When you said it, I was like, when's it start? It's on soon, isn't it?
28th of June. But yeah, it's in our house. It's like on the calendar, Love Island starts.
Yeah.
My mum just mercilessly rip into me for it, and I don't care. I quite enjoy it. I enjoy a bit of scandal.
Embrace it. Yeah, a bit of drama. Someone else's drama. That's a terrible thing to say, isn't it?
I think when you're anxious, I think it's sometimes nice to switch off and enjoy someone else's drama.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about a specific time when you've suffered from anxiety, and sort of how it affects you. Does it affect you physically, or is it more of a mental thing?
I would say mostly it's more of a mental thing. I've had that horrible word panic attack a few times. So, the physical side. I'm going to go out there and say I'm quite good at controlling that, but I'm quite good at a technique of I know what's happening to me. I know what I need to do, take myself out of the scenario, look for 5 things, breathe deeply, get myself into the fresh air, all of that type of stuff. And that tends to happen when I'm like really overwhelmed, really not spent enough time on me, doing too many things all at once. But mentally is the most repetitive, challenging thing for me. And intrusive thoughts have a real good time with me. They're all over. And since I have my little boy, and obviously I mentioned how important he is, the intrusive thoughts for him are just, they're going to a whole nother level. It's interesting.
The most precious thing in your life, you're bringing in another thing to worry about. That's exactly my anxiety got the very worst, maybe 13, 14 years ago when we were due to have our first child, and it's that. Yeah, you worry about yourself, you worry about your other half, and it's like, bam, here's another person to worry about.
Yeah, here's someone that's like the most precious thing in the entire world, and really quite fragile, actually. So, there's some reality there. He was a little bit poorly when he was born as well. So the reality, so the worst thing for anxiety, I think, if you're looking to sort of like make the perfect cake or the recipe for anxiety, is when a fear plays out. So that when you try and tell yourself again, this is irrational, you don't need to worry about it, you're like, well, there was that time when this thing happened. And obviously coronavirus, that's a good one for anxiety, isn't it? There's a global pandemic and everyone can die.
I mean, it's almost like the sum of all fears, isn't it? It's like, touch something and you could get it off this surface. And I mean, bless you, you've got a 2-year-old, they touch everything and put things in their mouth, and running up to that even, because it's been a year, hasn't it? I suppose we've had a pandemic. So you've had that whole kind of toddling around, sticking things in their mouth phase. And it's like, wow, I can't even imagine what that's been like, sanitizing everything. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I've been lucky that I've managed to, sort of manage it myself, and I'm got in this position where I'm helping other people manage it. But yes, I would have been terrible during this pandemic, I'm pretty sure. News reports constantly saying, stay inside, don't go outside, the world's frightening. I cannot imagine what it's like for people who are as bad as I was, but now, if you know what I mean. I can't even imagine.
And I would say probably I put myself in the lucky bracket in terms of I understand how to manage it. Mostly, definitely there's times when I don't, but I mean, I definitely was a bit COVID crazy. There's no way that I'm going to say I wasn't, like the
COVID crazy.
COVID crazy. I was definitely COVID crazy in terms of, overly sanitizing everything. And, like you say, I was like, I've just touched that, so I need to wash my hands. I've just touched that, so I need to wash my hands. Like just trying to rationalize between what's real and what's the facts that we talked about and what is just my anxiety. It's been a bit of a minefield, but yeah. So that was a very long answer to how it affects a lot.
The facts is it's funny again. We keep going back to the way I help people. It's like I say to them, look, let's look for the facts. Let's take your thoughts to court, all that kind of stuff. But like you say, if you've got a fact in the past where it did play out that way, then it's a lot more difficult to, but then again, it's rationalizing, well, it's a new situation. But like you say, you've got a fact, you've got evidence from the past that this does happen, then that's tricky. And that's a whole new ball game, and it's a whole new wrestling match with your own mind, isn't it? And it's that's cool. No, it's a great answer. I love that. What's the hardest part of it, would you say, in your eyes? So for me, it was I had a lot of physical symptoms, like say panic attacks, dizziness. I'm 6'4", so having vertigo, dizziness is difficult at my height. Everything's if I fall from here, it's a long way up kind of vibe. And so I crawled around a lot. But what would you say the hardest thing? More the thought side of it then?
The stuff I already mentioned, so the intrusive thoughts and the craziness of them sometimes, bad word to use, but I just mean in terms of the level you go to of the things you can think. But I actually think the thing that makes it the hardest is how hard you can be on yourself. If you were to say to your best friend, then you would 100% say, of course I understand that, and it's okay that you feel like that, and these are the things you need to do, and this is what you need to do to help yourself. But with you, it's sometimes very much a case of don't be silly, carry on. That's a stupid thought, and you don't allow yourself that compassion that you should when it comes to these things. So probably the hardest thing for me has been that the kind of less helpful version of me thinks if I just keep busy, it'll go away. And actually, we know that if I just keep busy, it's probably going to get worse. And I'm probably going to have more anxiety, more intrusive thoughts. I'm probably going to end up in a panic attack. And actually, then I'm going to really need that time. So I think it was allowing myself to be kind enough to me to say, you know what you need? You need to take 10 minutes out. You need to, relax.
Understanding where you're at and giving that, it's almost allowing self-care and not feeling guilty about it, allowing a bit of self-indulgence. Indulgence is taken as a bad word, but actually like a bit of self sort of awareness to say, and like I said, you wouldn't say to your best friend, God, do you remember that time when you failed something? Do you remember that time when you made a real cock up? Like, you've got a real track record of being a bit of a
you're a bit rubbish at that.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that. And like you seem to have already been on my course without being on it, which I think is great. I like every sentence you're using. You wouldn't talk like that to your best friend, look for facts, all these kind of things is in that kind of, you're doing all the right things. And it is funny, like how, like you say, you wouldn't talk to your best friend, but you don't allow yourself, allowance is a great word, allow yourself that time to go, let's be fair to myself. Let's be nice to myself. Let's be, try and take it a bit more kind of softly with yourself rather than being harsh. And yeah, a number of times I'll be like, oh, do you remember when you did this? Do you remember when you did that? You're an absolute muppet, Bevan. There's this, like I say, the unhelpful version of yourself in the back of your head kind of chipping away.
Yeah, very unhelpful. And I think actually, I'm going to put it out there, I think it's harder for guys as well, because I think that, a very stereotypical version of a bloke would be that they don't feel sorry for themselves, they do need to get on. That bit that I've just talked about, there's like that additional pressure of so for my other half, I really have to persuade him, no, it's okay to feel like that, it's okay, you can like take a bath, no, it doesn't, that's absolutely fine, that's okay. And
about you at all.
But seriously, so I actually think in some cases, and it's also harder to talk about, I talk to my friendship group about counselling, about meditation, about all the things like that, but I can't imagine him in the pub chatting to a group of boys about it, but they should, and they all need it. So
I think that's really helped me being part of, I'm one of the master coaches in Jess Cunningham's Conscious Female Entrepreneurs group, and I'm the only guy in there. So actually, I'm finding out a lot more about myself that way as well, like chatting about things like meditation, chatting things about spirituality, this and that. I'm quite comfortable chatting about it. And like you say, I rock up to the football match at the pub and go, oh, lovely meditation yesterday. And everyone's like, all right.
Keep at it. I love that. And I think there should be loads more of it. And on a side note, I've worked with Jess and she's amazing.
Yeah, she's brilliant. She's such a positive, and she's been on the podcast. She's such a positive individual. And I have such a laugh with her, to be honest. We're both as daft as each other, which I think is why we get on. And she's into all the stuff I'm into, and it's weird. I found my spiritual sisterhood there when actually I'm a bloke. If you know what I mean? Does it make sense?
See, but you can. There's no rules. There's no rules. You definitely can.
They're all stepping into their what they call it, their alpha male and their alpha femme, and I'm finding my female side quite happily, and it's actually quite good.
And fun. So you should. And I think the only other thing to mention on that question, just because I think it's an interesting one, is the detailed anxieties I get. So what I mean by that is my worry about not doing the right thing for other people. So I thought I'd tell you a funny story about it.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Because genuinely, I actually found myself amusing sometimes. And so I went to my brother and sister-in-law's house. I stayed over the night. I woke up in the morning. My sister-in-law made pancakes. The pancakes were on the side. I stole the nicest pancake in my mind. So I ate this pancake. I drove home and I was like, she's going to hate me. She's going to hate me. She's going to hate me because I stole the nice. And I actually texted her saying, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that I stole the nicest pancake. Now, I think the reason I mention this is that you need some of these people in your life that are on your side that go, I'm not even responding to that.
Oh.
I'm not even, she just put, I'm not even responding to that. There's no like.
But then anxious me would have gone, she's not responding because she's so angry about the pancake.
Yeah, maybe. But actually, no, it really helps because I know that person and she's someone that's like, I am not validating that feeling because that's you really overthinking a situation, becoming anxious about the fact that, you know, I value you more than a pancake, basically.
That's done it. I'm having a t-shirt. I value more than a pancake. You value more than a pancake.
There you go. Let's make a t-shirt. There you go. That's how we're gonna make a million.
Interesting thing that, because I talk to people about like them being the star of their movie. So you're the star of your own movie. I'm the star of mine. And so in your movie, you deem that to be the best pancake. She might even deem that to be the best pancake either.
And who cares?
And then also, like, there's another several hundred pancakes available. And it's like, yeah, who would be offended? And actually, you're the guest, so they probably would want you to have the best pancake as well. Like when you start looking through the facts.
And honestly, it's just a pancake, isn't it? And in this moment now I know, but in that moment I didn't know.
It's a perfect example of how irrational sort of these thoughts can get. And how it can affect you. And some people who don't get anxious. My wife is quite a chilled out Fonzie and never seems to get anxious at all. Nothing seems to bother her. So that kind of thing, she'd be like, oh, you know, it would never occur to her that there would be a best pancake.
Like, what are you talking about? Absolutely. So so just a bit of a detailed one to say that they can get very interesting, but also maybe laugh at yourself a bit.
Yeah, and you can do, and that's that third party perspective. If you learn how to sit out of it and look at it and think, the best pancake, and would she be bothered anyway, and taking your thoughts to court again, you know. But at the time, like you say, you're really genuinely worried that this friendship could break down over this pancake, this magic pancake. Anywho, so now you've managed to sort of finally get it under control, or get it under control more. How's that changed the way you feel? How's that changed the way you live your life? And what did you do? What were your main things you did to get it under control?
So I've mentioned some of the things already, but kind of to go over them again. So a big one is talking about it. So I have a little thing with my other half where we talk about our cups being full, just to, you know, but it makes sense to everyone as soon as I say it. You're like, today, my cup is really full. So it could just boil over at any point for no reason. I don't know why. I've just woken up and that's how I feel. And so that means that if, I don't know, sometimes, you know, when the washing machine is on and it drives you crazy because you're like, I can't stand that noise. Or someone says something and it's the wrong trigger, or you're just feeling, so very much talking about it and saying, this is the place I'm in today and this is the support I need from you. And being able to do that means that, like the other night, I just went, just as I was putting dinner on the table, I went, I just need 10 minutes. And he's like, okay. And I just go upstairs, take 10 minutes, literally just in silence, just like silence in the bedroom. Sometimes I put a little meditation on, whatever your choice of branded electronic friend is. You know.
Oh yeah, don't mention that. Start playing music.
Yeah, can't say the name. Can't say the name, otherwise it'll activate everything.
Absolutely, they're always listening.
But yeah, I love to do that. Sometimes it's particular music. I've got a playlist set up that chills me out. I know that if I put that music on, but I think it depends on which personality type and what your triggers are. So I'm very much a kinetic person, and I know that that's what triggers me. But I think whatever your thing is, you need to find that and work it out. And it goes back to what I mentioned about allowing yourself to do it and not thinking it's dinner time, I need to feed my son, I need to make sure he's okay. Well, actually,
it should absolutely, yeah, get rid of the should.
I can find another way around it. I can give myself 10 minutes, come back down, and it is amazing how that takes you from what could be a spiral to a really normal level again.
That's awesome. That's the greatest bit of, you know what? That's one of the best bit of advice I've had on this podcast. I would say that kind of, it's allowing yourself to step away from the shoulds, give yourself that 10 minutes, and the communication with your partner is so important.
Yeah, it really is.
If you know you're struggling, if they don't know you're struggling, they can't help you. If they don't,
They just think you're moody.
Yeah,
You just is like, why are you being like that with me?
what's wrong with you? And, and we like say, oh, yeah, I'm like 90% today. You know, we have a percentage rather than a cup. It does, you know, it doesn't matter what you're working on. But if they know, they'll give you that time. Of course they will. They love you. They're going to do that. And you don't also, but it's that self-love of giving yourself the time. You know, I've got to put the dinner on the table. No, you haven't. Do it when you're ready. You know, there's no should. All the shoulds are only coming from you anyway. They're not coming from anyone else. Doesn't matter if you're Charles Dinner's 10 minutes later or 5 minutes later. It doesn't matter at all. So yeah, it's that allowance and that communication. Crikey, that is fab. Really good. I like that. Okay. Are there sort of two people you could shout out right now on the podcast to say thank you to, who have helped you in this, either in your personal life, your career, but more kind of like, you know, to be who you are and to get over the anxiety a little bit, or however you want. Two people you just like to say thank you to, really.
100%. I would always mention my mum in times like this. So she is literal hero. She's been through the most unbelievable journey medically and personally in her life, and she is the most positive person ever. Honestly, it's absolutely crazy. We're very, really very close in more of a friendship way, as well as mum and daughter way. And she totally inspires me to just be strong and know that things are going to be okay, look at things positively, to be confident in whatever I do. She's just an amazing role model in life. And she's gorgeous as well, which she didn't pass on. How rude.
I don't know. She did all right.
She really is, though. She's so glamorous. You look at pictures of her and think, how do you look like that? How do you look like that? It's unbelievable. So
glamorous mums are the way forward.
She's amazing. So yeah, definitely my mum.
Your mum,
and then a really strange one, actually, and it's interesting, my reasons, but I like this, and I definitely think this should be it should carry into life. So a boss of mine that I had when I worked in banking about 10 years ago come across as the most disorganized, casual person, but he got a job done and he was really, really good at it. And one of the things he told me he did, I can remember very clearly going, what? He comes back off holiday and he deletes every email in his inbox. Literally every email. So if he's been off for 2 weeks or whatever, then he literally deletes his emails. Now, my other half has just come back from his stag do. He was away for 3 nights, which is a whole nother conversation. But 180
podcast
emails.
Special, that one, for these sort of...
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. That is a podcast special. 180 emails. And I said to him, you should delete them. You should delete them. And he looked at me like, because actually, where it's important, people will come back to you.
Yes,
people will. And I was like, God, I mean, I've got to be honest, I definitely couldn't do it.
I could do it, yeah.
I couldn't do it. But the concept of it is a great thing, where actually, you know, what is important is what will come for you, is what will happen, is the, you know, the bits that really, really matter will remain. So all of these 180 emails, actually, we all know that probably 140 of them are probably not that important, are probably things that people have maybe gone to someone else that they could have worked out another way. And that's just all that life stuff that gets in the way and that drives you a little bit crazy. And if you could just be brave and maybe press that delete button. I'm working towards it. It's a goal.
Right, we should let's do that between the both of us. Next time I was going on holiday, so you have to get in touch and say, I deleted my emails.
And then see what happens.
Like,
you have to wait 2 weeks to see what the aftermath is, don't you? But
yeah, we'll have to give a report later. But yeah. And also the podcast says, don't do this and blame me if something goes wrong.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah, no, there's a massive disclaimer in this.
At the bottom of the show notes, so we're like, anything that comes of this advice, please do not get involved. So that's a really cool thing. And it's a bit like how I tell people about worries. When people are worrying a lot, I tell them to make a worry diary and write your worries down for each day and go back at the end of the week and highlight the ones that were time-based. For example, you know, I'm worried about going to the dentist on Wednesday. A lot of those emails will be time-based within that 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. A lot of those emails will be like I refer to highlighter pens, the pink highlighter ones, which say you had no control over. So a lot of those ones were probably not even your job, but just being copied in on something. So I can see how it's very similar to the way I deal with worries. It's just, and like you say, the important ones will come back.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll be 2 weeks late, but the important ones will come back.
Yeah. Or they've sorted it themselves, though. You know, there's a lot in that, but it's a goal and it's something.
I tell you what, it's a big ballsy move. Wow. Especially if you're a bank manager, was it? Yeah.
In finance, yeah. Well, no names or details will be revealed.
No. It'll never be the one that got sacked for not reading his emails. Anyway, talking about sort of tips like that, great tips. Is there one sort of book that you would suggest all our listeners or watchers should read to shape their life? Because I've got tons.
Yeah, absolutely. So a book that has always stuck with me that I found really amazing is The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. So it's just magical. Have you ever read it?
No, The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
Right.
It's absolutely amazing. So basically, I'm going to be dead honest, I'm going to read exactly the description of it because it does it much better than me. It's a story, and it's talking about achieving your dreams. Okay, so it's a young boy's journey, and he learns to listen to his heart and follow the language of omens. So with each passing obstacle and hurdle the young boy encounters, there's a lesson to learn. So when you first start reading it, you're sort of like a little bit, what's this? This is weird. He's like a sheep herder and he's up mountains and things, and you're just thinking, am I going to learn anything from this? But there's a sort of ongoing narration with lessons. And there's just something very magical about it, and very, you know, that feeling you get when you have meditated, or when you are actually meditating but you don't know. So like at the sea, laying on the beach, and you think, oh, do you know what? Everything's all right. Everything feels great here. I'm just like really settled and lovely. That's the feeling that book brings out in me. And it's actually something that I've gifted to most of my closest friends to try and say, read this when you're feeling low. Have a read of this, and it'll just give you a little bit of that calm feeling.
I'll have to give that a go. See, mine's similar one is Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. I read that like almost like a daily. Just open it and read it, because it's a similar thing. It just gives you those affirming moments where you go, so yeah, it sounds a bit like your version of that to you. So
yeah,
read. I've never ever heard of it. I'll definitely give that a read, and I'll put that in the show notes because I've not heard of it before either. So fab. I like the way you described it off the top of your head, brilliantly.
I didn't look at anything. Did you see me not look at anything?
I saw you very much.
Those words are much better than me. I would have said it's about this boy, and there's some sheep and some mountains, and he learns stuff.
And that the impact would have been quite the same. It would have been like, is that Heidi? You see, you got away with it for the audio podcast. You could have gone, well, I'll just tell you about it naturally. I can edit out the bit where you say I'm going to read it.
Edit, yeah.
Lose it in the edit. Okay. Coming on from that, is there one thing you do every day, whether it's physical or mental, in your opinion, that would help people who are anxious, or help people just live a better life, really?
We've really covered it, but I'm going to say it again because it's so important, and it's just that take that time out, be kind to yourself, just be really aware of what you need that day. So try, and I think this is hard, this is a challenge, try and assess that day and say, how am I feeling and what do I need to do? In the same way that you would do that physically for yourself. So if you had a cold, you would be a bit kinder to yourself. You would maybe think, I'm going to cancel that dinner date that I've got tonight, or I'm going to eat good food, or I'm going to eat bad food, or, you know, whatever it is you need to do, think about that from a mental perspective and think, what am I capable of today? What do I need to give me that boost? And what do I need to tell the people around me?
Awesome. Great tip. Love that. Okay, on to the more fun stuff now. We've gone through the weeds of anxiety. We'll come out the other side to the fun stuff. What is your favourite word, and what's your least favourite word?
Oh, so I have a weird thing about words. So particular words like really grind on me. So well, yeah, but I like starting with a positive. So sunshine is my favourite word. Sunshine. Because tell me if this happens for you. As soon as I say sunshine, I think about it. I draw a sunshine in my head, like a particular type of, like when you're a child. That's it, you see?
Warm from the inside. Yeah.
And if you go a bit further with it, if you start thinking about it, you think about somewhere you've been when it's really sunny, or a particular place that you've enjoyed that's really sunny. So yes, sunshine. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a beach. It could be in the snow somewhere with bright sunshine, because it was really amazing, because it was a mix of, but yes, just sunshine. It's just
every time you say it, your voice goes up as well. Sunshine. It's like
sunshine.
a sunshine vibe. Not like, oi, sunshine.
Sunshine. No, definitely. It's a high-pitched word, I agree, because it's a happy.
Yeah, you can tell. That's cool. I mean, mine's onomatopoeia, because I like saying it. It's got that love.
Yeah, that's fun.
Whereas last week we had David's defenestration, just because it's an awesome word.
Okay, but I'm
Letting
not with him
people
on
out of
that one.
windows. Which is a little less depressing, a little more depressing than sunshine. I prefer sunshine, if I'm honest. So what's your least favourite word?
So I can't stand, and I mean, I can't express to you how much I can't stand lol. What is that? Lol.
Oh,
And
that
when
laughing out loud, lol. Yes, people say
lol, laughing out loud, lol. So it's in a text message, and people are like, and people put it on a text message with no relevance. So like, would you like a coffee? I would, lol.
It's not like, ha ha ha, I'd love a coffee.
I don't understand. Where is it come? I sound like really sound like a moaning old woman, and I know that. But I just don't understand it. What is it for?
I think I'm guilty of using it, but I use it to try and make sure that people don't think I'm being serious about something.
Oh, well, there you go. I'll forgive you. I will forgive you. I won't use it ever.
Like,
I use lots of
comedy
ha-has.
pop at you, but I want you to know it's a comedy pop, not like I'm actually saying you're rubbish or anything like that. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, you're rubbish, lol.
You're rubbish, lol. Well, you know what? That's got some more context, so it's more acceptable. But it's just there are some words that just grate on you, aren't there? And that's just
actually saying it out loud as well is like, it's an abbreviation. Why are you saying it out loud? Like, why? It's just a text speak thing. Don't say it out loud. Yeah, people do go, oh, lol, and you're like, what?
Or lols with an S. Is just, but with a Z, yeah, see, I just can't cope. I can't cope. It just needs to go. It's my room 101 word. It totally is.
Talking of which, actually, this is good. I don't know if you listen to Radio 1. I don't. I'm too old. But I did catch Greg James's unpopular opinion thing he does. And I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. So I thought, you know what? We'll bring it to the podcast. So have you got an unpopular opinion, maybe the word lol, that people wouldn't necessarily agree with? For example, the music of Bryan Adams is an abomination and should be deleted. Or The Life of Pi was a terrible movie and I really hated it. Or singing in Disney films makes my skin creep. So have you got one like that?
And I do worry that what people are going to think of this one. I don't want England to win. I don't want them to win the Euros.
Oh my word.
Can I tell you why? Can I tell you why? I feel like I've got a good reason. So I'm fully supportive, like normally, and I'm very much into it. But one of the games is due to be played on my wedding day.
Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah, I see. Right.
So there's a chance that if we do well, then there will be a game smack bang in the middle of my wedding day at my wedding breakfast with my other half and all of his very, very keen football watching brothers and family. And of course, my family and guests too will be interested. And you just know people are going to be sneaking their phones under the table. And I just,
I can understand that unpopular opinion. That's fine. We can allow you that one. I don't think that would be massively unpopular. It's.
Oh, really?
I can see the reason behind it. And I'm an ardent football supporter, but I can see why it would be nice to have a glorious failure in the previous round, maybe something like that.
Seriously, it's okay to do well up to now. The game that was on last night, I was saying lose, and my other half was going, no, it doesn't matter. That one doesn't matter. It doesn't affect when they play. And I was like, yeah, but just lose, just go away.
Takes any concern and worry away altogether. Then, yeah. To be fair, I think that next Tuesday, your wish will come true, and we'll be out the tournament by then. So you won't have to worry.
I feel bad.
It's probably like the semi-final or something that would be on your wedding day, I guess.
I've tried to ignore it. I'll be honest. I've tried to ignore what it is, so I don't know.
The final would be the worst, wouldn't it? Of course, because that would be like pretty.
It is possible it won't be. It's possible that it'll be the Friday or the Saturday. So, but we're just ignoring that in a very sensible adult way for now.
That's a perfectly fine unpopular opinion, and far more would be far more popular than my hatred of Bryan Adams, The Life of Pi, and Disney songs. Anyway, so I love time travel. I've got a couple of courses that I teach that involve looking at your past, changing your past, all that sort of stuff, and I'm obsessed with time travel. If I could lend you my time machine for 10 minutes, what would you go back and tell your 20-year-old self? What advice would you give them? Of course, if you're past 20.
Of course, only just. It wouldn't be that far. 22 years in the time machine. Not that far. I would definitely tell myself to just enjoy it more, and that everything's okay, and you don't need to worry about that thing or that person, fitting in a particular way, and just be yourself. it's funny because I think about this a lot, particularly back to school years, how I'd love to just get 24 hours back at school with this knowledge now.
I'd kick some ass.
Would just be amazing, wouldn't it? To just be like, I really don't care.
I have a right laugh at this place.
Yeah.
Because I was quite a diligent student. I was quite a well-behaved kid. Yeah, so scared of getting things wrong. And you know what? I wasn't living in the now. I was always worried about the exams or the this or the that. And to go back and be, I don't know, maybe 18, 19, 20 and just live a day knowing that it was all going to be all right and just have a right old blast.
Right, wouldn't it?
But
the biggest thing I would say to myself is enjoy the time that you've got, because you've got a lot of time when you're that age and you have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You just
no
got to look
responsibility, nothing.
Yeah.
You're so lucky. Just go crazy. And you think you've got not much money. You're funny. You can spend it on whatever you like.
Yeah. It's brilliant, definitely. You're selling it to me now, actually.
Oh, I'm going to have to get this built. Loads of people. I mean, there's so many people gone back and said, oh, I wouldn't say a thing because it'd be changing the timeline. I'm like, no, I'd go back and have an absolute...
No.
I'd enjoy not having aching knees, the fact I'd be able to play football again, all this kind of lovely stuff that I miss out. I'd have hair, loads of it. All these great...
I'd probably give myself some fashion advice. I'm sure I would. I'm sure I'd give myself some fashion advice. It was like really pale face, and you used to take eyeliner and line your lips with it and then make them really, really pale. And I did go through a phase, like a gothy phase as well, that really didn't suit me at all. So I definitely would go back and say, take those clothes off. They do not suit you.
Don't do it. See, I think I'd be quite pleased with myself. I'd maybe, you know, I'd make sure I told myself to enjoy my hair more. Like the fact that it is going to go one day. The fact that I had long curly hair down here is like, just love that. For a day, just spend it all day just playing with it and looking at it. Because
absolutely.
You're going to miss it so much. Maybe chop some off, like a wig. I don't know. Okay. Talking of regrets, is there one question that you would have liked me to ask you that I haven't today?
So what are you doing when you're at your best?
Hang on a moment. So, Kat, I've just had a thought. What a great question for you. What are you doing when you're at your best?
How unbelievable. I love solving problems for other people. I love being there for other people, sorting things out for them, being able to fix something they think they can't fix. So, you know, that last minute drama of this thing that we can't do, we can't solve. I'm almost a bit like, leave it with me, smug face.
Superhero move. I've got this.
Yeah.
Stand back, citizen.
Smug face. Yes, I've got this, and I, you know, like flying at the last minute with the answer and the resolution, and it's really, really lovely to do things for other people. It's like a it's like a present, isn't it? But it's not like a physical present. It's like things you can do always mean the most for other people.
That's awesome, and that would be a great question for future guests. That one. What are you doing when you're at the best? That's fabulous. The number of questions people are asking that are staying in the podcast because I love them so much. It's like, it's good. It's refreshing it every week. Talking of which, you see, look, I'm such a segue man. Look at that. I had a lady called Christy Mims on who asked this amazing, as part of the guest question for the next guest, she asked this incredible question. And I thought, you know what? I want to leave this in because I think it's such a great, interesting topic. We could even make a whole podcast out of it. What is the best 80s movie? Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, so it's
There's a lot about a person, which is their favourite 80s movie.
It does. It's a tough question for two reasons. Number one, because there's so many great films, and particularly from that era. And I'm very much of that age now where it's all very reminiscent and nostalgic to watch films like that. But the second reason is because when I thought of the films, I was like, is that the 80s? And I felt like I was cheating by Googling, so I didn't. So I'm going to go out there and say Pretty Woman, but I'm not sure if that's 90s.
I don't know, you know.
Is that 90s or 80s? Is it like late 80s?
It might be like 89, 90. Yeah. Do you know what? I'll allow it because why? Why is it the best? Go on. Or is it just your favourite?
Because it does that thing that I talked about earlier with The Alchemist, where it's like that whole dreamy world. I mean, if we actually analyse it, he picks up a working girl off the street. You know,
we best not look into that part of it. That's the kind of part that everyone seems to brush under the carpet.
Yeah, but it's very romantic, it's very traditional, it's got a real feel-good factor. It's really interesting that I have probably watched it maybe 100 times. Awkwardly, I can probably tell you most of the words from it. I was going to say I could probably play Julia Roberts' part, but I should definitely not say that.
I don't know, you actually chop something right there, no problem at all.
So yeah, it's just that feel good factor, it's that escape. And actually, when I talked earlier about taking a bit of time out for you, I think watching films like that is indulgent, isn't it? It's not giving you anything, you're not learning anything necessarily, you're not doing anything to move it forward, you just sat there. And I think I recommend involving snacks and whatever your beverage choice is.
There you go. And it's got that, I think Pretty Woman's got that scene that I always, it's funny, I always refer back to. It's when she's in the shop. She's been in the shop once before and they've kind of kicked her out because of who she was. And then she goes in the shop next time and it's like that kind of Disney princess transformation and she's allowed to have what she wants. And me and my wife refer to that scene over and over again in different situations and it's just stuck. And I don't know why. It's like, oh, you go back into work and it'd be like that Julia Roberts scene. And it's one of those scenes.
Yeah, big mistake. Big mistake.
And you think, yeah, good on you. Like people have prejudged you and now look at you and it's showing their shallowness and all that. It's a great little sort of vignette of life, that little bit. And I think you know what? Even if it is the 90s, you can have it.
Well, thank you very much. Much appreciated. And actually, it seems you're right because there's a line in it. Can I call you Eddie? And he says, not if you expect me to answer. And that's me. So I'm quite particular with my name's Catherine. And if people call me Kath, I'm like, that's not my name. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my name. That's
quite the same things. That's not my name.
That's not my name. Yeah, but that's a whole nother thing.
Okay, so as you know, we have a question from the previous guest. Now, the previous guest was my friend David, the drummer in my band. And wow, this is a chunky question. He was going down the Star Trek kind of Federation of Planets vibe, I think, when he asked this question. If you think it's possible, how can we start to bring humanity together to act in unison to advance as a species, good Lord, rather than as an individual nation? Now, he wants 1,500 words on his desk by Monday.
Yeah, no problem. Although, please don't think I haven't noted, it did say, if you think it's possible. So I will just, if I'm writing a thesis, I will just say, this is not possible. But if I was answering it, I think that if everybody's interested and open in each other, rather than being sure about your own views. So if you become interested in something, even if it's something you're vehemently against. So, we talked about our love of reality TV. One of the reasons I love reality TV is there's people like Stacey Dooley that go out and I'm trying to think of the name. Who's the other guy? The other guy that goes out and does...
Louis Theroux.
That's him. Yes, they go out and they chat to people that have these like wild views, and I certainly don't agree with them, but I find it a lot easier when you try and understand it, when you try and listen and think, oh, okay, so that's where you're coming from, that's how you've grown up, that's your education, this is what you're afraid of, this is what you believe, and rather than kind of having that black and white view of things, if we take a step back and try to understand where people are coming from, then we might be a step closer.
Crikey. You know what? A song should have come in then, and some sort of like all the nations singing together, holding hands, swaying.
I don't know why I'm singing that. That was the wrong song.
Understanding, love and understanding. Something like that. I don't know. It's coming to me. Maybe Dooms can drum along to it now. Maybe David can drum along to it in the background, having written that question. That's awesome. You know what? Good on you for that answer, because I tell you what, you gave that question, and I was like, oh, crikey.
It was a challenge, but we met it.
Great answer. So then, here's your chance to get revenge on the next poor unfortunate. Have you got a question for the next person that'll be on?
I have indeed. So something I mentioned at the beginning of our chat was about some of the positive changes that the pandemic has brought. So I would like to know, what positive changes has the coronavirus pandemic brought to your life?
That's a really great... Did you learn Esperanto and the unicycle like you said you were going to in March when it started?
I think there's loads of things actually that are we talked about before we did this about how digital connections have come on board, so that you have built friendships just literally chatting to people over video calls that you wouldn't have done before, and think some things have become easier, and some habits that we've got I've taken into what we're maybe calling our new life now. I don't know if we're there or not, I don't know, but I definitely think trust me, don't get me wrong, it's not been fun.
No.
I think there's some bits that we're taking forward that can stick around and will be positive. And I think it's really important to look back at something that's been challenging and understand, well, actually, if you took that away, what things would we lose that we've now gained?
We've started to appreciate certain things. We've started to the biggest thing, we were talking about this, I think that was last episode or the episode before, people started to look inside because you're locked inside. You start to look at, am I happy? Am I doing what I want to do? You know, often when I was anxious, I'd be like, stop the world, I want to get off for 5 minutes to get my head straight. The world stopped.
Absolutely.
And we all got a chance to go, do you know what? There's a bit of self-care because we all stayed inside. We had nice food. We didn't do much, but we had time off. I mean, some people obviously in the NHS were carrying on working, but a lot of people had time to reflect and time to think, do I really want to do this for my life? Do I want to study something different? Do I want to do? So yeah, there's so many positives. Yes, so many horrible negatives, having had COVID myself, and it was just horrid. But a lot of things came out of it, you know, and you're right. Good question. Like it.
Thank you very much.
No worries. But honestly, I've absolutely loved that chat today. Thank you so much for coming. I genuinely, I put the message out there saying anyone want to be on the podcast. You came back and said, yes, I'd love to. And you've been one of the best guests we've had. I think it's absolutely brilliant. You've been so honest and fun, and it's been great.
I've loved it too. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
In a couple of months, when we've both been on holiday, we'll come back again and describe the disaster of deleting all our emails.
Most definitely. Deal.
Thanks ever so much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.